Hello, this is Masterful Chats and I'm Rebecca. And I'd like to say hello and welcome back to all of my wonderful subscribers, and hello and welcome to those of you who are viewing me for the very first time. Masterful Chats are short, clear, concise, clarifying conversations designed to uplift, empower, inspire, and support you as you move forward along your spiritual path and in your life's journey. And today's chat is about the different soul ages, the different ages that a soul travels as it learns and adapts to schoolroom earth. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself for those of you who are viewing me for the very first time. I am an information synthesizer, a mystical scholar, and an intuitive. And with knowledge from my near-death experience, I know that each one of us is a beloved child of the Creator. We are known individually, and we are loved completely, totally, and beyond measure. Thank you to all of those of you who like, share, subscribe, and watch the channel. I truly appreciate it, and it does help the channel grow. So now, let's chat about the different soul ages. Over 95% of the souls on planet Earth believe in the afterlife and do believe that a soul is eternal. The Eastern religions believe life on schoolroom Earth is not a one-shot deal. Individual souls come back and learn lessons and grow and adapt and change until the lessons are learned, and then they move on to other horizons. Whereas the Western traditions in religion believe that life on Earth is a one-shot deal. The two views are very different. As a child growing up, the world did not make a lot of sense to me. I didn't understand the lack of compassion. I didn't understand the poverty. I didn't understand the greed. And from my personal experience, I was reading scriptures and esoteric studies when I was in late elementary school. I went to a Christian church, but it was non-secular. And for the first few years, in what I'll call the kindergarten of Sunday school, we learned the Christian teachings of Jesus. But about the 4th or 5th grade, then we began to study the different world religions. So every year was a different religion, which was fascinating, and I loved it. I'm weighing the different belief systems and can't quite figure out where I fall and, where my beliefs are in the continuum. But that something happened to me in high school. I had always loved languages and music. So when I took a career placement test, I believe that was probably junior year in high school, I was really quite interested in the results because the first one made absolutely no sense to me, and yet it did. The third career placement was a Romance language teacher. The second career placement was in musical studies. The first, though, absolutely gobsmacked me. Because out of all the career opportunities that I could have been, of all the things that I could have done, I was going to be a businesswoman. I was going to, go to college, get a degree in economics, and I did. But the first slot in my career aptitude was a Catholic nun. And that was like, wowzer. So that was really where the first tangible inkling for me that this was not my first time around came to me as far as a career placement being a nun. Since then, in my experience and in my knowledge and in what I have studied, that is why the idea that we come back for many, many lifetimes makes much more sense to me personally. So now what I'd like to do is to go over the different soul ages and to talk about them a little bit. And this is just a very, very basic discussion to kind of give you a point of reference. All souls were created at the same time. Not all souls choose to have a physical experience on earth plane or in a different plane. I'm going to just strictly speak about the earth experience from this point forward. For tens of thousands of years, when souls incarnated into these human bodies, there was a very thick veil or shield, so that when we were born, after the first, I would say especially the first 2 or 3 years, we really lost that direct connection with our Creator. There was always that part of the Creator inside us as we learned and grew, and it was a desire to reconnect with the whole of who we are. But on schoolroom earth, there was like a shield or a veil. And so we really had to start from scratch. And we did with each life. And yet every life that we live as a soul is kept in our Akashic memory, in our Akashic records. When souls come to earth, there are 5 soul ages that they will progress through from the beginning to the end. And those 5 soul ages are infant, baby, young, mature, and old. Whereas an old soul may have lived 800 or 900 over 1,000 lives, an infant soul may have 30, 40, 50 lives. That's a big difference. Infant souls are the newbies. Old souls are the ones that have been around the block for a few times. And the best correlation for you, without getting into a tremendous amount of specifics, it's like the growth of a human being. You've got the infant stage, you've got the baby stage, you've got the young stage, you've got the mature stage, and then you've got the old stage. Infant, baby, and young stages are primarily incurring karma, as we call it. And karma is not good, bad, indifferent. It's as we learn lessons, as we interact with other people. It's simply a balancing. So those 3 soul ages will be taking action, perhaps, and doing things that need to be balanced in later lives. The mature and older stages are primarily working off karma and bringing things back into balance. Let me give you just kind of an example. Infant souls, much of their incarnations are dealing with survival. Babies are expanding out into the world, not so much in a survival mode, and they're trying to figure out how they adapt within a culture, how they live within society. Young souls want to assume power and be in control. They are there to make a mark on the world. And they're quite often the ones that are out in the media the most, because that's what they want. They want to be out there. They want to be seen as game changers, movers and shakers. Mature souls It is really the first soul age where there is a conception of the other beyond family and tribe. And it's where they are achieving a balance. There's also a lot of drama in relationships with mature souls. Old souls, for the most part, not always, none of this is 100%, but for the most part, aren't seeking fame and glory. They are paying off karma. In the final balancing, they're trying to make amends for anything that they might have done or that they need to learn. And old souls are the ones who often have the most challenging lives, not always, but in terms of perhaps the family, clearing out ancestral karma, the rebalancing of things that they need to clear before they move on. And they may move through the world much more quietly than the other soul ages. To give you just an example of the young soul, because that is what is impacting America so much these days. America is a young soul country moving into a mature soul country. And I'll give you an example of 3 young souls that have definitely imprinted the planet and continue to do so. One is President John F. Kennedy. The second is President George W. Bush. And the third is number 45, Donald Trump. So that gives you an example of the young soul energy. It varies a lot, and there are many layers to this. I will put a link below if you're interested in looking into some of this a little bit further as to soul ages. And there are also many other factors that come into play, but it's just kind of fun to look at this. So when we think about who and what's impacting our world, I believe that soul ages make a lot of sense. Many of us have been here a lot more than others. And as I have said in the past, it's important that to recognize that each one of us is doing the best that we can with what we have, with our knowledge base. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Thank you for being with me today for this Masterful Chat. I truly appreciate however you choose to support the channel through donations, liking, sharing, subscribing. Until we chat again, wherever you're at in the world, blessings.